A few more points on integration. As I said, ByDesign is both a solution and a platform. And we analyzed hundreds of implementation projects and wanted to describe what are all the things that companies typically do during an implementation project. And we came back with this visualization. And in the past, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, even here for business configuration, you needed to bring in external consultants, which did the work for you, especially when it came to building additional forms or building additional reports. You relied on external information. With Business ByDesign, we said, let's move the needle. And we said, here at the mashups, everything to the left is non-coded. So the key user of the company can do it. When you now need to start to program, then either you have the skills in-house or you bring in somebody who helps you with more complex integration scenarios, composite apps and so on. So these here are the coded extensions that you can do in Business ByDesign. If we do a quick walk through business configuration, I already told you and showed you in the demo what you can do with it. So also the solution adaptation is done after you've selected what you want to have. Here you can do, and maybe Christoph Schneider shows that a little later, you can, for example, say, and for purchase requests above $500 send it to the corresponding manager. That is what you can do in the solution adaptation area.
As Rainer mentioned, for mid-sized companies it is critical to be able to adapt a software solution easy and fast to new requirements. Therefore, I would like to show you how this works in Business ByDesign. The use case I would like to utilize for this short demo is that of a company that plans to set up an approval process for sales orders that exceeds a specific threshold. So let's go to the Business ByDesign system and how this approval process can easily be implemented. To start with solution adaptation, I go to the Work Center Business Configuration, and here I select Implementation Projects. As you can see, there is already an active implementation project which defines the current solution scope. To implement the approval process, I first need to activate this functionality. To do so, I have to edit the current project scope. So I select the project and click Edit Project Scope. What you see up here is a so-called guided activity that leads me step by step through the process. In the first step, I define the country in which the company is operating and the type of business. This instantly causes the system to pre-select specific elements and the corresponding predefined content, like, for example, the relevant chart of account. In the second step, I define the implementation focus, and in the third step, I scope the solution. The solution capabilities are listed in the Business Adaptation catalog, and let me expand the catalog a bit further. This catalog organizes and structures the capabilities into hierarchies of business areas, packages, topics, and options. For the described use case, I do not need to select any additional options as the usage of the sales order is already activated, which you can see here. The fact that it is gray means that I cannot simply deactivate this option, as there are dependencies with other areas of Business ByDesign, which you see when I click the Dependency tab. But what I need to do is to answer the related questions, and I will do that in the Questions tab, so I click Next. I again go to Actions to expand the list, and then I scroll down, select Sales Orders, and here I find the related question. Do you want to use a multi-step approval process for sales orders? To activate this process, I simply need to check the question, to check the box, to put it in scope, and then I can go to the next step. Yes, I do want to use the pre-selected answers. And the last step, I could review my implementation in the solution proposal here, and if I okay with the current status of the solution proposal, which I am, I can click Finish. After we have activated the functionality, the approval process for sales orders, let's go back to my Launchpad and now continue with the definition of the approval limits. To define the threshold for the approval process, I go to the Work Center Application and User Management, and here I select Approval Processes. In the list of the available approval processes, I need to scroll down a little bit to select our default approval process that has automatically been created. To edit the default approval process, I need to select it and create a copy of the default process. In the upcoming screen, I first enter the process name. I call it Sales Order Approval Video Training. In the detailed screen down here, I can provide additional information for the approval step. By default, the approval process related to a business document, in our case to sales order, always consists of one step. But as a business process might require more than one approval step, I could add additional steps here and also define the work distribution as well as some additional rules. For example, if all approvals need to be required, if automatic approval is possible, or if I want to skip reapproval. Here I also define the conditions based on which the approval process should be triggered. And in our case, I want to trigger the approval process for each sales order that is higher or equal than $10,000. So let me do this. Therefore, I click Add Group, and on the upcoming Edit Condition screen, I first select the field I would like the approval process to check against, which is the net value field. And then I define a compare operator, which is greater than or equal to, and the value, which is 10,000 US dollar. And now I can click OK to add the conditions. And I can now save and close the screen. And next, I need to activate the approval process. To activate the newly created approval process, I go to the inactive processes. And here, let me quickly search for the related document, which is sales order. And I found our newly created approval process down here. I now need to edit the validity. Therefore, I click Edit Validity. And now on the upcoming screen, I first need to stop the default approval process, which I do by uncheck Unlimited Validity, and define the end date, which is today 7/02. And now I define the start date for our new approval process, which is the same date, and the end date should be unlimited. I now can check the process, and now that tells me that the current timestamp, so it's 1 hour passed already, and 1 minute passed, so I need to change this quickly because the timestamp cannot be late before the timestamp of the system. Let me check again, and you see now all processes are consistent, and I can now save and close the screen to activate our new approval process. And with that, let me continue to create a sales order and see how the approval process is applied in the sales order. To create a new sales order that exceeds the approval limit, I go to the Sales Orders Work Center, and here I select the common task New Sales Orders. In the upcoming New Sales Order screen, I first enter an account and choose Luxury Heating and Cooling, and then further down enter the product information. I will sell from our solar boiler Combi 75, 40, to make sure that the value is higher than 10,000 net value. As you remember, that was the threshold that we have defined for the approval process. And if I now click Submit and release the order, you will see that the sales order requires an approval. With that, I'm done with that little demo to show you how easy it is to adapt Business ByDesign to new requirements and hand back to Rainer.